So apparently Democrats in our area like hiring convicted child rapists for their campaign?
Yeah, it should shock us, but of course we see this happening often now. So there was an article by Charlie Harger in Cairo 7 about Joshua Headley, a convicted child rapist, and it kind of centered around the Auburn mayor. And this was a great article. It was like a 25-minute read. It was very in-depth. But, at the end of the day, it still left a lot more of the story left on the table. And that is that this individual, Joshua Headley, who's a convicted child rapist, has been being utilized by a lot of Thurston County Democrats in Thurston County to do services for campaigns for school board and city council and even levy campaigns for public schools. And I don't know about you, Ari. I could probably imagine what you think about it, but I can't think of any better example of a complete lack of judgment than to hire a convicted child rapist to help you on a campaign that is a job that serves children in our schools.
Also, are they going door-to-door, door knocking? So, hey, knock, knock, it's a convicted child rapist on behalf of a Democrat candidate.
I don't know that happened, but what it looks like has happened is that he's doing camera work and photography and media level work for these campaigns, including I just saw a picture just moments ago of him at a school, a convicted child rapist with a camera next to a school bus at a Yelm public school, taking videos and photographs, assuming that there's going to be kids in that as well. Obviously that's a violation of Joshua Headley's terms as a registered sex offender here in Washington. But also we're starting to learn that he illegally switched aliases on people, and so they couldn't find out who he was. And you're supposed to, as a registered sex offender, report any aliases that you use so that can be updated in the sex offender registry. But he didn't never report some of these aliases. So I think places like Yelm Public Schools were kind of caught off guard, not knowing exactly who they hired. However, the bombshell of this whole story is that back on August 25th, Joshua Headley was exposed as he was working for many of these campaigns and candidates at the Thurston County Democrat Central Committee meeting. And they scrubbed their minutes about that conversation about Joshua Headley and just went over and tried to cover it all up anyway. And this is including not just for school board races, but for city council candidates like Ryan Siu and Lacey and Robert Vanderpool, a Democratic socialist over in the Olympia City Council. And so this just kind of goes to the lack of trust people have with the Democratic Party, where they coddle sex offenders. They will even pay them extraordinary sums of money in their campaigns. And then there is a guy named Rob Richards, who is essentially Joshua Headley's handler. He hired him, and he's making incredible amounts of money both in the Olympia region and in Seattle, running Democrat socialist candidates from the legislature all the way down to the local level, and oftentimes, sadly, successfully. And so it just goes to show a lot of people, especially in Thurston County, especially after the sexually violent predator issues that we've had in Thurston County, in my district, where we had to stop that twice from happening, near school grounds and schools and people who've been raped and sexually assaulted, that it just goes to show that in some of these places in Washington, the child rapists have more rights than the rest of us. And so they wanted to cover it up because the election's coming up soon, but we're just finding out about this now, even though they knew about it for a while, since August 25th. And I don't want people to go out to the ballot box and think that they're voting for someone who would hire a child rapist to work on their campaign for a school board.
Well, now it all makes
like Julie Watts and Tumwater.
Right. Now it all makes perfect sense why they want to release all the sex offenders from McNeil Island, because they need campaign staffers, right?
Well, I mean, I guess because they can the money run all the Democratic here. It just shows a tremendous lack of judgment and also a lack of character. That it would be one thing, Ari, that if this guy changed his alias and pulled the wool over your eyes, and you didn't know who he was when you hired him, you couldn't do a proper background check. Maybe a mea culpa there, that would be forgivable. You just didn't know. You couldn't know. But once they did know on August 25th, and then they tried to hide it and lie about it and cover it all up, that's when they became culpable for having hired a child rapist, a violent child rapist. And as you know, Ari, these sex offenders cannot be reformed. I mean, there's not really a case where they are reformed, and especially the ones that come out of McNeil Island, like the South Hill rapist, Kevin Coe, that's now unconfessed out into our communities. And so it's one thing if they didn't know, but then we know that they did know, at least as far back as August 25th, and then they tried to cover it up.